From one of the episodes in this season being the second lowest rated in Gumball history, to others ranking very highly, and being adored by fans, it's safe to say that fans are completely divided on this season, and I want to find out why. So today, we're looking at the 5 highest and lowest rated episodes in the new series, breaking down why the community rated them the way they are, and at the end of each episode, I'll be leaving my own honest review. So let's start with one of the lowest rated episodes in the entire season, The Distance. The episode starts by showing that Gumball and Darwin's brotherly bond has gone a little too far, to say the least.
Shuffle shock!
So to solve this, Richard completely remodels the basement and turns it into a fish paradise, but literally nothing can separate their bond. Their relationship is usually really humble, but in this episode specifically, it starts to get a little creepy how close they are. And when they are forced to be separated, Gumball starts to get really obsessive like a crazy ex. Well, Darwin is just kinda chillin', living his best life in fish paradise. Gumball starts going completely insane, but to make it even worse, Nicole comes in and takes Gumball's phone privileges away because Richard used all of the phone minutes for an important business call. Gumball starts going completely crazy until he goes on a computer game with Leonard Daniel, who gives him the genius advice to be evil, break into the basement, and go crazy. But when he goes through with that, he gets stopped and meets Darwin down there, and they finally reconnect, while in the process also destroying the entire house.
Guys, what is that weird smell? No, wait!
This episode was definitely one of the weirdest ones, and that's saying a lot. This is Gumball that we're watching. It's one thing to have brothers in a romantic relationship. It's a whole new level of cringe to have them have actual phones. That is weird, uncomfortable, and cringeworthy. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this episode. It did make me laugh, but it was definitely pushing it. The phone scene was the weirdest part. Other than that, I didn't mind the episode. Now, it's time for my review. Yeah, this episode gave me secondhand embarrassment. The whole episode slowly turns into, I don't even know, a breakup arc? The whole thing's so weirdly intense that it's kinda funny, but mostly just uncomfortable. But I like the Club Penguin reference. 5 out of 10. While this episode was pretty bad and just straight up weird, it's nothing compared to the worst rated episode that we're gonna review at the end of this video. But while The Distance was hated by most fans, The Thing could not be any more different. The episode starts with the kids getting a call from Granny JoJo at probably the most unflattering angle, and she starts instantly roasting Nicole. But basically, she's coming over for dinner that night, and Nicole warns Richard not to forget the thing they were talking about, and she really emphasizes this.
Please don't forget the thing we talked about earlier.
But my boy Richard has negative brain cells, and he doesn't remember. So for the rest of the episode, they set out to try to figure out what the thing really is. But while he's eating a hot dog, it gives him flashbacks, which makes the kids realize that Richard somehow has photographic memory while eating food. Throughout the episode, they go all around town eating everything to try to find the thing. But thing after thing he gets brought, nothing seems to be the thing. Until they get the genius idea to go to the store and combined all of the foods that he ate that day into one mega memory mukbang. And through this, he can access all of his memories from that day. And in here, he merges all of his memories together to realize that Granny JoJo is the thing. But bro ends up fumbling and then locks them in the bus station overnight, completely missing the window to bring her home. And when Richard goes to confront Nicole, thinking he's gonna get her full wrath, it turns out that the thing all along was to find a way for Granny JoJo not to come for dinner, so that they can have a night alone. And Richard remembered this memory through a kiss.
Why does dinner with your mother have to be so stressful?
What if I find a way to get her and the kids out of our hair and we have dinner? Just you and me.
Oh, that sounds like just the thing I need right now. Thanks, honey.
This episode was rated pretty highly, so let's see what the people had to say. This was a really sweet episode, especially the ending. I love seeing Nicole and Richard being a genuine couple. Richard remembering the thing from Nicole's kiss is so romantic and cute. This is one of my favorite episodes so far. It feels most like classic Gumball. Sussy is always a treat. I lost it at her just nomming on chips. Well, I'm not sure many people would agree on this. In my opinion, I think this episode was peak Gumball. And I love Richard episodes, I can't even lie. 9.5 out of 10 stars. But now let's talk about something not as good. The burger, which starts at Elmore Junior High, where Miss Simeon is showing the kids about the danger of junk food, which is a little dramatic, but it scares Darwin out of wanting to eat Joyful Burger ever again. But back at home, while Gumball is trying to eat something, Darwin tries to help him resist the temptations, but they can't escape junk food, especially when their dad is Richard. They go around town and finally find a semi-healthy looking place to eat at, but even this place is corrupted with fast food junk. This leaves poor Gumball starving as there's literally nowhere to eat. So Gumball and Darwin try a bunch of other stuff, from looking in a store to digging in the garbage and even farming, but nothing seems to work. And it turns out that the whole time, Mr. Build-A-Burger was the one trying to stop them from eating healthy. And bro is literally a burger. Build-A-Burger is clearly just doing this for profits and is super greedy. So Gumball and Darwin's solution is to eat him, literally eating the rich. Loved it, but it felt like they rushed through it to a pace where I couldn't thoroughly enjoy it. This episode's okay. The writing isn't amazing, but with it being the first episode of the series in years and seeing how the next several episodes have been, I think they just needed this to start getting back in their groove. Honestly, I'm not a fan. It wasn't that good. Yeah, this episode is basically Gumball versus the entire fast food industry. It's kind of fun seeing them go full anti-corporate. It's kind of like a PSA that forgot what it was teaching halfway through. 7 out of 10. But now, let's take a look at the 4th highest rated episode in the season, the Amadean. It starts out with Gumball simply trying to come hang out with Penny to use their karaoke machine. But it turns out she actually invited him over to a day where they were having a crazy family tradition. And Gumball kind of gets sucked into this, so they have to put on peanut shells and participate. Gumball is so overly confident and has no idea what he's doing. Meanwhile, Penny is just completely trolling him and treating the tradition like it's a joke. And I mean, I love to see how confident she is now. This episode is basically just Gumball embarrassing himself in front of the entire Fitzgerald family. But near the end, we do get a really cool moment where we see the Fitzgerald family without their shell, which is really cool to see. And Penny's dad looks nothing like I would expect. Probably my favorite out of these 20. Loved it so much. Can't wait for more episodes. I love how Patrick accepted Gumball into the family. He's basically given Gumball his permission to marry Penny in the future. Overall, there was quite a lot of character development with Penny and Gumball in this episode, with Gumball feeling more accepted than ever into the Fitzgerald family. When I first watched this episode, it didn't really stand out to me, but the more I rewatch it, the more it grows on me. 9 out of 10. But while it's pretty hard to hate the Amadean, surprisingly, a lot of people seem to hate the gut. It starts with the kids not being able to find anything to eat in the house because everything is expired. But Richard takes expired as more of a suggestion.
Dad, that milk was rotten.
Oh, be quiet. Expiration dates are more of a loose suggestion anyway.
Anais somehow comes up with an invention to show how food can talk. But while Richard accidentally eats it, because of the 5-second rule, it makes his stomach start talking and literally become alive. And the reason this became alive is because Richard has eaten so much food that it literally gives life to this puny machine, and it becomes super intelligent, giving it a voice and a personality because of all the pure calories and lard in there.
How come it's not muffled though, like the device is inside the stomach?
I'm utilizing the acoustics of 2 of your dad's orifices. One is
I don't think we need to know.
Anais thinks this is super cool and asks for her dad's permission to be able to talk with his gut about smart things, to which Richard agrees because he's a good dad. But this gut is really smart, like on the same level as Anais smart, which starts to make Richard feel useless. So he uses his own creative way to win the chess game.
I'm here to take you down, evil king!
Richard keeps putting up with this gut problem for a while, until he starts getting hungry and the gut refuses to let him eat food. And you do not want to hold food away from Richard Watterson, because he gets so hungry that he goes to the fridge and tries to eat a moldy thing in the back. But that doesn't work, and Richard eventually literally starves to death and lets the gut take over, which is exactly what the gut wanted. The gut is completely evil, but then Gumball, Darwin, and Anais realize that they need to give Richard Watterson food. So Anais grabs the moldy yogurt in the fridge, they give it to Richard, and he goes back to normal. Too much of a gross out episode for me. 7 out of 10. It was a good body horror episode. It was mad uncomfortable. This episode, objectively, had some pretty bad gross out shots, but it wasn't used to a point where it was too much. Although, I can see why some people wouldn't like this. What I can say though is that I'm a sucker for a good Richard episode. 9 out of 10. But now, let's talk about the third best rated episode in the season, which happens to be the gourmet. This episode starts with Gumball and Darwin at school, getting the same disgusting school food that they get every day. And when Gumball sees the gourmet food that Masami brings in, he gets super jealous and wants some. But when he asks his mom for some mac and cheese back at home, it looks nothing like it, which kind of pisses off Nicole, because she still has that insane rivalry with Yuki, and she tells Gumball that if he wants to eat the food, he should just go over to their house. And so he does exactly that. Gumball ends up going over there and gaslighting Yuki, saying that he's super poor and doesn't get fed. So she reluctantly agrees to let him stay for dinner and teaches him the ways of being rich. They go through a whole bunch of training, like playing tennis, wearing rich clothes, and drinking disgusting coffee digested by wildcats. Eventually though, Nicole comes over to meet Yuki again, which almost turns into another anime battle. But Nicole just goes to find Gumball, who has completely changed. But at the end of the day, he just wants that mac and cheese. So he tries to get it like a wild animal, which gets him kicked out of the house. And it seems like all hope is lost, until Gumball remembers that he still has an app on his phone that controls everything in their house. So they end up using that to destroy it, and then all of their employees quit and promise them free mac and cheese if they give them a ride home. Love the anime Nicole return. This episode was so good, like the mac and cheese that Gumball wanted. Another excellent episode from this season. They clearly know how popular anime Nicole was. It was really fun to see Nicole finally getting some revenge on Yuki in this episode. Honestly, this combo needs to be used more. Anything that brings out Nicole's competitive side always makes a good episode. 8.5 out of 10. But while most people loved this episode, the community could not be more split about the cheerleader being the second worst rated episode in the new season. The episode starts with Gumball and Darwin finding Richard's old diary, and it turns out that bro wanted to join the cheerleading team back in the day. But Richard never got to fulfill his dreams of being a cheerleader because Granny JoJo shut him down and told him that his dreams were stupid, which makes Gumball and Darwin feel bad. So they try to find the deep-rooted problem of why he thinks this, and it turns out that the problem is a long history of generational self-doubt in the family, all the way back to the caveman era. So they decide they need to help Richard become a cheerleader, which is easier said than done considering his massive size. Later that night, after all the training, my boy Richard is nervous, but Anais gives him a ball that would supposedly make him less nervous. When Richard gets on stage, he kind of just looks like a creep and completely fails at cheerleading, but at least he's trying, until he sees Granny JoJo watching, which completely breaks down any speck of momentum that he had. But then we get this beautiful moment where his family cheers him on and gives him the power he needed to become a good cheerleader. Richard ends up absolutely killing it, and for the first time, Granny JoJo is actually proud. Worst episode so far. Why? It's alright. However, while this episode is the second worst rated in the entire season, there's a lot of people who love this episode and completely disagree with a lot of the people leaving negative reviews. 10 out of 10 for me. Near my top 3 so far. The end was all worth it. This is probably the weakest criticism I've ever seen. It genuinely all boils down to seeing unconventional things makes me uncomfortable, with a little side of I cannot fathom the concept of not following gender norms. But now, here's my thoughts. This episode was definitely a bit strange, but it told a good message. I think if Richard wants to be a cheerleader, he should be a cheerleader. Although he might need to lose a little bit of weight if he doesn't want to cause an earthquake in the gym next time. 8 out of 10. But while people had very mixed opinions about the cheerleader, people seem to love the wrinkle, with it being the second best rated episode in the season. The episode starts in the doctor's office, where Anais has a weird wrinkle on her head after being only 4 years old. And it turns out that she's already aging from all the stress she has at home from her super dumb family. And Anais's wrinkle keeps growing as they do more dumb stuff. So to keep it from growing even further, Nicole decides to follow Anais's book on how to keep the family safe. First, it starts with Darwin going to a school to toughen him up so he can't get taken advantage of. But Darwin is way too sweet for this to have any effect on him. While maintaining a positive attitude, he still passes every test. And they come to the conclusion that cuteness brings infinite strength. Next, we cut to Gumball, where Anais tries to get him a top-tier lawyer. But Gumball has 420 life sentences worth of prison time, and trouble literally seems to follow him everywhere. So yeah, he's pretty helpless. And that makes Anais's wrinkles get even worse. Then finally, we cut to Richard and Nicole on a farm, where Anais retired them. But being on the farm only causes them to argue and horribly mistreat the animals with fireworks, causing the animals to stampede them, which again, you've guessed it, makes Anais's wrinkles worse. Basically, just turning into wrinkle mush at this point. But when they finally get to the hospital waiting room, they sing a song, and I think this finally makes Anais's brain click that not everything needs to be perfect, and she just needs to accept who they are. Very good and cute episode. I enjoyed it. Probably one of my favorite episodes in this batch. The end was very sweet. It shows imperfections make us what we are, and proves that being a perfectionist can have more negative effects than positive effects. I'm usually not the biggest fan of Anais episodes, but I gotta say, this one was pretty funny and had a good lesson. Bonus points for the Darwin part. Why? I don't know, I liked it. 9.5 out of 10. But now, let's talk about the worst rated episode in season 7, being a significantly lower score than all the other bad episodes that we went over so far. Not only that, but it's the second worst rated episode in Gumball history, coming in with an abysmal 6 out of 10 rating, which for other shows would actually be pretty average, but this is Gumball we're talking about here. This show is anything but average. This abomination of an episode starts in school, with Gumball expressing his free speech to Principal Brown by complaining to him about how Miss Simeon won't let him write a poem about butts. Principal Brown tries to shut him up, but after a very anticlimactic speed walking race to Principal Brown's office, he reveals that he's self-conscious about his butt.
I'm sorry, Watterson. It's just I have a problem with butts. My own, specifically. I cover it up with... I'm not gonna go into details, but mine is weird and gross. Can you let this slide, please?
Which is why he dislikes people talking about it. And after a little bit of an investigation, it turns out that the deep-rooted problem is that he got made fun of for his butt in elementary school. So from this point on, he wore a butt wig. Gumball thinks that reading his butt poem in the assembly will fix this. But to make it even worse, Principal Brown's old bully from elementary school is the superintendent now. At the school assembly, Gumball tries to make his butt speech, but Principal Brown pushes him out of the way and then starts rapping his poem for some reason. And in the process, he gets enough confidence to reveal his butt and scares off the superintendent. I gotta say, this was probably the weirdest Gumball episode I've ever seen. And as you might know from a previous episode in The Amazing World of Gumball, they don't really have the best track record with butts. Terrible. Felt like it was written by a 5-year-old. Judging by the comments, I'll pass on this one. I was into it, but holy it falls apart at at the end. Why does this need to exist? This episode was something, to say the least. I don't even know what to say here. The Principal Brown butt scene was insane. I don't know, maybe Gumball should just stay away from butt episodes. 3 out of 10. But now, let's end this video on a good note and look at the best rated episode of season 7, that being the portrait. This episode starts with Nicole buying a professional family portrait because literally all of their previous family photos are just completely cooked. So they hire Larry and they're about to have a nice picture until the door rings and Granny JoJo and Louie show up, trying to also get in the family portrait. How did they hear about this? Through Richard's weekly newsletter.
Granny JoJo, I don't think I told you about
You
that.
didn't. I read about it in Richard's weekly newsletter.
And right when they're about to take the picture again, Nicole's mom and new boyfriend show up because apparently Nicole's parents got divorced and Nicole's mom got with someone else who used to be in Nicole's freshman class, and his name is Johnny Toucan. And then even Frankie shows up with the correctional officer who is now his girlfriend. And when Frankie establishes order and goes to take the photo outside, he ends up backing up to get the perfect shot and then just straight up runs away. After this, the correctional officer calls for backup and tries to get the Wattersons arrested for being involved with this, which eventually leads to the main Wattersons in the house, where they decide they need to get the perfect picture before the cops come and bust them. They find Larry tied up under the couch, get him to take a picture, and get a crazy shot of them in a seemingly normal family photo, with the cops completely surrounding them. And they're about to replace the old picture with it, but then they decide that the old one should probably just stay. Honestly, this was a super unique episode, and I love that we get to see the entire Watterson family in it. This episode went from 0 to 100 really fast. Favorite episode in this batch? This one is hilarious. Definitely my favorite episode of the season so far. Genuinely, I think this is probably my favorite Gumball episode. I love the ones where you get to see the whole Watterson family interact with one another, and this is just that. The plot was very simple, but hilarious. I think that's what makes it so good. They weren't trying to overcomplicate things. 10 out of 10. So those were the worst versus the best Gumball episodes in the new season. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to click on the video on screen right here. Click it,